delinquents. And we can default those to be the day of the event or a set number of days prior to or after. All right, so we're going to take a look at that together. Summary ledger, first item today. The summary ledger is available for every single resident. Okay, there's no specialties to this. Every single resident has a summary ledger on their layout within their records page. And that summary ledger summarizes what's happening with that resident. So in the first column, ooh, I have a pointer, so exciting, right here. It tells us the month, right? And when we do change period from May to June, it locks in that former period and it records their ending balance. So this person, Robert Dean right here, needs to get on. That's a horrible ending balance as we went into the next period. Then it tells if they've been late that period with a totality of times late at the bottom. 61 times. This is one of my best tenants ever. And then I have the ability, and we're going to get into this, to waive late fees, and we're going to talk about why, to see if they had non-sufficient funds and how that affects their ability to pay. And then any notes that we feel we need to place in here to show what we're doing to address these delinquencies. So for anyone who doesn't know, on the boardroom, there's a delinquencies and prepaids module. So your boardroom is your landing page that you arrive at when you log into ResMan. So as someone that had to click 19 times, and I did count because I'm salty like that, to put in delinquency notes at my properties, I appreciate that the boardroom module lets you put those notes in right from the boardroom for every single resident that's delinquent or prepaid, and it stores historically. So we're going to get into that, okay? So we see here that in the summary ledger, which is a module on your residence records page, that you can see the total balance at the end of the month when the period changes, if they were late and the historical number of times late, if the late fees were waived, if they had a non-sufficient from their bank, and any notes that were entered. So with the non-sufficients, there's a setting in the back end of your database that your administrators can establish that will set them as certified funds only if they've had X number of non-sufficient funds in a set number of months. For example, 2 in 12 months. If that occurs, the database will automatically toggle this certified funds to a yes. Okay? So, is there any questions on this slideshow before I advance over? We're going to dive in a little further. We have a question right here. Do you want the mic or do you want to just... Okay.
I'm good. So when you switch them over to certified funds only,
yes.
If you decide you want to get rid of that and accept it, do you have to go in each time they go to make a payment, or can you reset it to take any funds?
You can reset it, and with correct permissions under user group permissions, you can just toggle it back, or you can come in and use the NSF waive link. See where it says yes right here? And you're ahead of the game because this is going to be next. You just click on the yes, and then you remove the NSF, and it'll drop it back down and auto toggle them back into accepting the uncertified funds. Fantastic question. Anybody else? Okay, here we go. All right, so if there's a need for the late fees to be reversed, so we're going to get the late fees first. This can be done with one-click function. So going back to that ledger, remember the late fees? Well, the late fees also have a yes. Anywhere in ResMan that's blue, hopefully everybody knows that's a hyperlink. It takes you to do an action or show you information. So if you see something in blue, you can drill down. So in the late fee area where it says yes, I'm going to click on the yes. It's going to pop open this box right here. And it's going to say, why are we reversing late fees? Additionally, when. Okay? So this is the period, the notes, we're reversing, and when, click OK. So for anyone who doesn't know, ResMan runs off settings and permissions. So if I'm showing you something and you're in your live database at any event and time and you can't see it, you might want to talk to somebody about your permissions or the things that are turned on for your database. Okay? Just so you guys know. So then this will take you and take that late fee away. All right? So then the yes will become a no right here in this column. And the late fees waived will say waived. So historically, someone will know. Additionally, this person geez, going from 61 to 60, they're totally fine now. Perfect resident, right? So any questions on waiving late fees? Come up with a standard operating procedure as to why or when you would ever do such a thing, and understand these actions are permission-based, okay? So then we're going to take a look at when late fees are reversed from the ledger. So let's talk about that. So when late fees are reversed from the ledger, and you have the automatic assessment of late fees established in your database, ResMan does not recognize that the late fees hit, they were reversed. So tonight, going into tomorrow, if that resident still has a balance, ResMan does their job, hits them with a late fee again, okay? So that's where we need to make sure that we use the waive link to waive the late fees for this period so that they don't carry on over and over again, right? Because it's logically driven by a ledger balance. So again, when late fees are reversed from the ledger, ResMan does not recognize that they were posted and reversed. So if there's a balance, they'll do it again tomorrow. So that's where the waive link in the summary ledger will come into play for the late fees. Okay, so going back, here's the late fees were waived, yes or no, or they were late, yes or no, and here's the waive. So it's sort of a two-section area, okay? All right, any questions here? Okay, NSF. So non-sufficient funds column keeps track of every non-sufficient fund event with this resident. Once they've surpassed the allowable setting, they will be toggled to certified funds only automatically within the database. With permissions within user groups, this can be done within that permission group. Once ResMan has changed the status, it is going to be locked down for those people who do not have permissions to manually turn that around. So then what can happen is they can waive the NSFs just like we talked about with the late fees using that hyperlink. Clicking in and waiving the NSF. Then when the count is below the settings allowance, ResMan will go ahead and unlock that for them. Okay? Any questions there? Right back here. Go ahead. Do you want the mic? Okay.
It recently came up when we had some communities that had some NSFs. They were really poor. They were unable to look into accounts. They had non-sufficient funds. There was where they set an accept fee.
Right.
Is there any sort of different fee that could be attached to those? We have those unable to look into accounts that come back quite often.
Okay. Is this through a payment processor or is someone? Okay. That would definitely be, I don't know, Jackie, if you have an idea for what fee they could tie through, if it needs to be done through AdText directly. Any idea? Well, they couldn't find the account, like no validation for the account.
Right. So even if it's like account closed and they're unable to find it, it still comes back as a return with what they're.
So there's no other choice. No. Okay. Okay. I'm so sorry. Great question. Anybody else? Okay. All right. We are on to the next topic, split ledgers. So for anyone who needs to understand what they are, and maybe one day you'll be in a situation where this will be part of your job. There's a few people here who do it already. Split ledgers allow the transactions to be separated from the resident and the subsidy. Now, some people use the word HAP, housing assistance payment. Some people say subsidy. It's your world, it's your database. The words can be what you want them to be that makes sense for your property and program. But there will be a need to build them first, okay? So they are used to pull apart the portion due for the resident versus subsidy. It allows you to see how much each person owes. So to get those going, well, I don't have a slide for that. Sorry, guys. Under admin settings, on the left workflow menu, there is a split ledgers area. Within the admin area, that is permission-based. So in my training database today, you guys may not have access to that. You will go in and you will have built this. This is the second step. It'll say add, and then that's where you put in what is it. So the County of Harrisburg Assistance Program. Then you give it an abbreviation. And on the global level, under admin settings layout, you build it. Then they will come. I'm just kidding. Then you go to the property. So then you go to admin properties, go to your property name, and there's a split ledger in the left menu workflow there. This is what you'll see when you arrive at the property section. And you will then toggle this on for those people taking housing choice vouchers that would like to turn this on as needed. If you are fully subsidized and you want to enable a split ledger for your entire property with one click, here's your box right there. Once you hit save, every single resident in that community will have split ledgers. So step one, you build it at the global level. Admin, settings, split ledgers, add, you say what it is. Okay, there's different programs across the nation. Then you go to admin properties, select the property where you will be taking housing choice vouchers or have subsidy come through. Go to the split ledger on the property page, and this gives you the option to turn that ledger on a need by need basis. The second button just gives you one for everybody. Okay, any questions here? Okay. So transaction categories tied to split ledgers. So now that we are taking payment for residents and subsidy, it's very important to understand that within your transaction categories, which is also up in the right-hand corner under admin, transaction categories, you can change those transaction category view by type. So again, we have payments, we have deposits, charges, and credits. Those are the 4 types of transaction categories in ResMan. Within the transaction categories, there's going to be the payment type, and you're now going to need to have one for the resident, one for the subsidy. Very important that the application restrictions here align with the correct transaction category. So now that the payment transactions can be built out, they're restricted and it limits exactly where the money goes when used during the transaction process. Okay, a little deep dive there, maybe more than we needed to do for this moment, but I want you guys to understand that once you enact a split ledger at your property and you use the transaction icon or the new transaction in the left workflow of a resident's page, a very magical thing happens if there's a split ledger. There's an additional populated space that allows you to assign that payment to the split ledger, whereas if you don't have it enacted, it's not going to be there. Okay, so it does help to understand. So again, split ledgers are built globally, turned on at the property level, and then if needed, they are placed in use within the general information, actions, create, reverse split ledgers function on each individual resident's page. If I had checked the second box, everybody would already have one, and I don't need this. It's just going to be there. Okay? So, any questions on the difference between having it for everyone or having it in case you need it? Or any other questions? Okay. Anybody learning anything that they didn't want to know? All right. Split ledgers continued. It's very important. When you have a split ledger, you'll know because at the top of your ledger, suddenly you'll have choices that you didn't have before. It does default to all. So when I arrive here, I'm able to see a balance and a half. That is the example of what I put in my database. It stands for housing assistance payment. Again, your initials may vary based on your region or program. So what this tells me is with a quick snapshot, I see my residents doing pretty good with a $50 credit. My HAP is at 0, which never happens in the real world for anyone in the affordable. Thank you, sir. Can I get a high five? Ever, never, ever, ever do we see that? That's unrealistic. All right. I just wanted to feel good for a second. So with the drop down, when you click the blue drop down arrow, you can then toggle between resident and HAP. When you do, the ledger completely changes to just those areas. All right. So this is a split ledger. Any questions here? Okay. So for anyone never working affordable, give yourselves a high five for never having to do this. All right. Here is the view between the resident and HAP. We can see that the ending balance aligns with what we are shown up above. So now we have a higher credit here's our credit. For anyone who does not know, when it comes to certain actions on ResMan's ledger, it does not affect your balance, just so you guys know. And then subsidy, 0, 0. So they will align. Okay. So posting charges. I talked about that magic that happens when we add a split ledger. When it's turned on, a new drop down appears. If you hit transaction right now and you don't have a split ledger, this line doesn't exist. It comes into play only after you build it and assign it to the property. Then you can say, is this payment for half or resident? And it ties back to the transaction categories I mentioned earlier. You guys thought I was just giving you a lot of information for no reason, but I promise it all makes sense once you see it all. Okay? So it follows the rules for where the payment goes based in that transaction category you established a couple of slides earlier. All right. Any questions about split ledgers before we move into payment deposit correction? Okay. So in ResMan, transactions, payments, they go to the ledger. They are for rents, dues, fees, charges, damages, puppy rent. Deposits go in a different module and are entered separately. If we take one payment, let's say I have a cashier's check for $1,000. I have a resident here, Robert Dean, and I enter his payment, and I just don't think about it, and maybe $700 is rent, $300 is deposit, and I just put it to payment because that's how my brain works. This is how you fix that. ResMan offers a quick way to move money that was inadvertently or accidentally, we're all busy, we're tired, it was early in the morning, posted to the ledger versus the deposit module. Okay? So now what I have here is a gentleman who, and I can't really see from here because I'm visually impaired, but he has a balance credit to his ledger. It looks like $550, but he owes me a $500 deposit. Because when I entered the transaction, I didn't select deposit. I selected payment. So let's learn how to take care of that by going to the left workflow menu, the accounting actions, payment deposit correction button. When we arrive to that location, it's going to ask us, what are we doing? Are we going to take money from the ledger? That's what payment means. And move it to the deposit, or money from the deposit module to the ledger. So number one, you have to have money to move, right? So as we saw, he had a credit of $550 on his ledger, which means I can move that to the deposit, but I can't move a deposit to ledger because he doesn't have one. So then I come in here and I say which category, and I only need 500. So I'm taking a portion of what's available and I'm going to move it. Okay. Then down here, he has, what does he have happening here? Somehow they've mathematically been able to make him pay a $500 pet deposit and a $100 unit deposit with $550. That doesn't really happen, but maybe they gave him a discount. So we can't do it unless the money's there. So this is a correction function. When could this be problematic? What if, does anybody here have an operating account? They put their money in, and a security depositing account. Anybody separate those? When you go to batch these at the end of the day, they're not going to be correctly coded for that. Best to do it correctly from the get-go. But if you don't have separate accounts and you just want to move this as a correction, here's your answer. Okay? So now a decision is made. The money has been moved. It goes either way as long as the funds are there. Once it's completed, you'll see two entries on the residence ledger. One removes the money from one side and the other one adds money to the other. When you're working with deposits, it will never ever affect the balance of your ledger. Deposits are held in the deposits module and they show a variance or deposit held. End of story. So it'll show a record of event so that when you print out the ledger statement, it's available when the resident's in the resident portal. It's available. You're not getting phone calls. Where's my money? But it's never going to affect the balance. And since I took this money in that way, this is how it landed in the ledger. Okay? Any questions with the correction function? Understanding that when I batch these transactions at the end of the day, now I'm not going to really be able to separate them into two accounts because I've had to do this correction. So best to just make sure we slow down. Payments go to the ledger. Deposits go to the deposit module. Any questions? Okay. I feel like Grant needs to release the puppies. Everybody had lunch. It's like mid-slump. We need some puppy energy in here. System templates. ResMan currently has 50 system templates created. When it says system, it means we build them out for you. So for anyone who does not know, within tools, messaging, you have a queue of messages sent and the ability to build your own templates or access the system templates that we've provided for you. They are connected to processes, so events. You are able to edit these. However, when you do, it changes them for everyone because they're a system template. So one person can come in here and take care of clicking into a template by clicking the hyperlink that is the template name and then bringing up the template. So if anyone is certified in merge fields, maybe you'll have a new career. Merge fields is exactly what you're going to use to build out the template. This happens to be the application received system generated template that ResMan has in place. For the online receipt of your application, we immediately send out application received messages for you as long as your administrator turned it on in setting. Okay? So you can come in, you can add information, you can grab merge fields, which are used for any information that changes and is customized. So dates, balances, names. And once everything's been changed and you hit save, the very next generated message is going to have the updated version of the template. Do we have any questions on system templates? Does everyone know that you have the ability to go into tools and messaging and build templates out to your heart's desire, attach them to your properties, your property groups? Okay. So then you can automate those messages. You have the ability to establish these messages to run on an automated schedule. This is about one of my top 10 favorite features in ResMan. Okay, so when I was new in the industry, I don't know what I was thinking. I legitimately hand did birthday cards for my residents for like maybe 6 months and then felt really bad because everybody in the whole entire property didn't actually get a handwritten card for me, but it was just too much work. I don't know what I was thinking. So in here, one of my favorite features is the ability to set up simple and very fun things like birthday templates, right? So you'll come in and we're in tools, messaging. You have the ability to come in and see a queue of the templates that are already built out by you. System templates are a gift from us. New templates is all yours. You come in, you build a template. You can build templates for delinquent balances, water leaks. It's going to freeze this weekend. A tornado is coming. We have free puppies. You didn't pay your rent. Once you build them, you go to the automated messages area. When you click automated messages, you click new, and then you're going to build out the message that will then run. So you come in here and you say which property or property group. For anyone who's not aware, you can go to admin properties and click the group button and group your properties by region, ownership, location, whatever you like. Having a group means things like this don't have to be done 15 times. I can say property group. Event in this example is birthday. Offset 0. I want you to get this message from me on your birthday, not the day before, after, a week later, anything like that. And I built a template already using merge fields, and it says everything I want it to say. Main contacts only are those lease signing adults, okay? If you turn this off, and it does attempt to run for other household members, they do have to have an email address. So that may not work. Including those people on notice, and even those we maybe love a little bit less who are under eviction is probably the best policy, right? Just saying. And if you wanted to run this for something with an offset, for example, if you wanted to create a template with directions on what to do before someone moves out, that's a great idea. They give notice to vacate. Maybe it's triggered by the notice to vacate, and 10 days later you send them a template with all the things. Or maybe when you enter the notice to vacate, it's triggered by the move-out date, and you do it X number of days before. That's where this comes in, right here, okay? Then you click OK, and then ResMan will generate these messages for you until the time in which you return and remove that function. So this one is a specific date of the month, right? So delinquents. having the opportunity to set this up for you is such a great deal. So if delinquents for you guys happens to be the 4th day of the month, create the group or just select your property, build out your merge field, right? So Guido's coming and he's going to break your ankles. It's the 4th. I want my balance due, and I want it from the legal adults, even if you're moving out, and it will run for you on that specific date. Okay, so this is the 4th of the month, not 10 days before something or 10 days after something. All right, so automated messages can be set up for the same event. So delinquent balances, maybe we need to reach out more than once. Okay, so you can set one for the 4th, one for the 8th, and then maybe let them know, congratulations, you won a trip to court. Okay? Any questions with the automated messages? Yes, go ahead. So there are requirements in the database regarding if it's an email or SMS. You do have to, of course, sign all the correct paperwork, and they will not send anything before, I think it's 7 a.m. if it's SMS. But with emails, I don't know that there's a limit on when it goes out. I don't think emails are limited. SMSs are very restricted by the configuration requirements for our nation, right? But emails, it might just, I don't know when it goes out. That's a fantastic question. Grant, I'm gonna write that down, buddy. We'll figure it out. I really don't know. I mean, I don't want to send myself a message and find out. I'll get your email and we'll talk about it, because I've never thought about it. All right, guys. So we flew through that. I need to pace myself. Okay. I had a soda at lunch. So all those things were regarding things that most people don't know exist in ResMan. Okay. So you guys had some good questions. Are there any questions regarding leasing in any capacity that anybody can think of in this moment that we can talk about, or anybody has any desire to dive into when it comes to the leasing functions in ResMan? Yes.
I have a question for the automated messages.
Yes.
So we do our weekly pest control. Is that something we can also use for that? I tried it, but I don't know if I got lost in it or
Yeah.
I sent one time for that one month, but not like every month.
Oh, that's so really.
Yeah. I don't know. I was testing it out, so I'm not sure that's something that we do here.
Okay, and I mean, it should be one and done, right? So with these automated messages, tools, build out the template, so weekly pest control, and then go to automated messages, click new, and once you set the parameters and click OK, it will be triggered by either an event or a date. It could be the date, maybe. I'm not sure what will be causing that.
Was there an event for pest control?
There is not.
That's what I find. A lot of things I want to do, there's not events for them.
Okay, well, let's get some stuff written down and we'll put that through. So any feedback that people have in training ever, just so you guys know, we take that feedback and we give it to the support director. The support director gives it to the engineers. ResMan, it really does care about what you guys need. That's why we do this, right? And so when that information comes back in, we deliver it to the engineers. They put it in a queue. The items that are addressed the most float to the top of the queue. Every 3 weeks when ResMan does their software updates and releases come out, one day you're going to be like, I brought that up to Bobby at ResMania. Yeah. It's serious. That's how they continue to engineer the software, right? In addition to the nation's requirements, industry requirements, they take all this feedback. So I'd be happy to take any of that information in regards to those things to the correct person so we can get them in queue. Okay? So yes, when it comes to the events, it is a pre-generated list of events. So that would be something they could definitely think about adding. All right? Anybody else? Anything at all regarding? Go ahead.
So when you send the automatic message or email to the reminder, so it cannot do a group, right? Because the resident portal, they are different.
So the question is, when sending out something for the rent reminder, can you send it to a group of properties? And yes, because it's a merge field driven template, So it will pull the information necessary for that resident. And it goes to their email. It doesn't go to their portal. It goes to their email on record on their records page in the general information module.
Okay, because when I was setting that, I just put the link of the property's resident portal there under the, so they can just, when they receive the email, they click on that and then go to their portal.
So she was very smart, guys. She created a template and she included the hyperlink to the resident portal.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the message, you only have 160 characters. You cannot, like, put that much information there. That's annoying me, right?
So the email body is not as limited. It's the text message section that is 160 characters. Where's my page? Oh boy. So because it was back here. So with the section here, you shouldn't be limited to 160 characters when building the template, unless you're using SMS texting. That's when the 160 character limit comes in. But with this, yes, if you're going to include the link to the resident portal, then of course you're going to have to do it by property. Right. So you can just build out the auto. How many properties do you have?
28.
28? It's like a Friday afternoon with some tea. You can just like click, paste, copy. Yeah. No, I feel you. Okay, so definitely something to do with resident portals linking to automated messaging. Okay, I like that. You guys are thinking ahead. Yes.
There's a merge field for portal URL.
Shush your mouth. Where is it? Jackie says, is it right here, Jackie?
It says, yeah, it's under URL, and I'll be resident portal.
Problem solved. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Jackie gets a puppy, guys.
So even on the text message, can you do that?
Can you put the URL in a text message? I don't think so, because I did test that one day on a different.
I have never tried.
I feel like that's a no. Copy and paste. I feel like I did a URL, not for the resident portal, I would have known it was there, but for something different one day, and it didn't go through text-wise. But, I mean, you can give it a try to let you know.
So I had a question to your support team that, because a couple of the property, after I check on the automatic message or email, and I saw there's an arrow, like the report that the status, it shows arrow. I was not so sure everybody couldn't receive it or just some of them couldn't receive it.
If anyone cannot receive your automated messages, you will know, because when you send it, it will compartmentalize the top portion from the bottom. The bottom will be people who could not receive it because they might have turned off your ability. They have the right to do so.
Yeah.
They can say, I don't want to be notified by you. Through the database. And if they find that, good for them, because they have to dig for it, but you know, some people have time. And so maybe they did. And that might be why you're not getting through to them. Okay? Did they get an answer for you when you asked them? Not yet? Okay.
No.
So,
no, they asked me, do you know who didn't receive? I said, I don't know. I cannot.
There would be a report. If they did not get it, you would know.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there a way to send it to all adults in the household?
So, all main contacts in unit was one of the functions, one of the little check boxes. And the thing with entering a new household member, an applicant, even a prospect, main contacts is a lease signing adult. So you're asking, is it like a live-in aide or someone who doesn't sign the lease? Is that what you're looking for?
No, I just didn't realize that it wasn't for main contact versus contacts.
Oh. We need a parentheses, S parentheses. There we go. I like your literal thinking. I'm the same way. So, you know, this is main contacts is anyone who's an adult lease signer. Okay? Good questions. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Have you guys considered updating like the text message box when you are trying to send a message? Is that a little straight? Oh, it is terrible.
So too tiny? It's too. I don't have an example, but it's too tiny on the screen when you're using it. Is that what's going on?
Well, yeah, and so it just stays that straight line straight goes like if you're trying to send a text message, usually it kind of
builds upon itself. Yeah. Oh, you have to scroll across the screen.
Oh.
Okay, I got you. So more of a square and less of a really long rectangle. Okay, got it. Got it. We're taking notes. And they do take this. I'm serious. I've been here 3 months 3 years. Sorry. 3 years next month. 3 months. I'm new. Welcome. 3 years next month. And there's things that came to some of my first trainings I saw implemented in the first year I was here. So it may not be this year, but they do take these things seriously. Okay. All right, guys. So we've still got a good 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, any needs, any comments, any concerns. Otherwise, we do have additional training occurring in this room as well as in other rooms across the entire area. This is my work email. You are welcome to email me with follow-ups and remind you that I made good promises and a puppy, and I will get back to you. Not today, probably maybe tomorrow night, something like that. I could possibly return your emails, okay? So you're welcome to take a picture or write that down. And then the next one, next training starts at 1:30, which gives you guys a chance. Yes, question.
One question on the payment correction.